Good evening, everyone. Hope my voice is audible. Hello, everyone with me, please respond.
Good evening.
Yeah, you can respond via chat. That's good. Keep responding. While you are responding, the advantage what you are having is you will be very active, so it's not just about, I'm pushing you to respond because you will also be very active. Okay, so you will be very focused. You will be continuously listening to it, responding. That's the reason why I request you to keep responding. Okay, to make you also active. Okay, that's the whole point. All right. So everyone, please participate at your interest also. It's not just that it gives me energy, but also it will be giving you also energy. All right. So coming back to yesterday's topic, let me open. Give me a second. All right. So if you recollect yesterday's our discussion, we were discussing about part 1. And under part 1, we were discussing about cost management topic. Okay. There are different topics we discussed: classification, allocation, job order costing, like that, each category. And then we discussed life cycle costing. Yesterday, we discussed in length. And then we completed that topic. Now, today, what we will do is we will move on to activity-based costing, ABC costing. Another very interesting, very relevant, I would say very much relevant in today's industries. As I explain it, you will understand. So today we will cover about ABC costing. Everyone with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So while I discuss, you need to, again, I have to take you back to some of the, base level examples to even before we come into activity-based costing, which is very, very, very relevant. Okay. You need to understand the context with which. Kindly be on mute. Yeah. So what is important is you need to understand how conventionally costing system happens. And then few of the parameters, I'll be very brief, but at the same time, you need to understand that. And once you understand that, at the next level, it is important that, we will move on to ABC. If I directly go to ABC, you will be clueless. So some of you probably already heard about it. It will be kind of a revision of what you have heard so far. But it is very important that how base conventional costing happens. And then from there, we move on to ABC costing. All right. Now, if we look at in a conventional organization, okay, for a change, let us take some other industry. I keep discussing about helicopter industry. For a change, let us take some other industry, let's say car manufacturing. Okay, let's say BMW. Okay, so we are into car manufacturing factory of BMW. Now, what are the elements required to manufacture BMW? Can you respond? What are the elements required to manufacture? Elements of cost, if I may say. Please respond.
Tools.
Tools may be coming to later, correct? Yeah. You need raw material. Starting point is, of course, tools is required. But the starting point is, you need what? Everyone agree?
Budgeting.
Yeah, materials is required, correct? Material is something. Budgeting is an exercise even before you do it. I'm saying about, we are in the manufacturing floor. In manufacturing floor, assuming, okay, design, everything is over. I'm coming directly to the production, okay, to avoid confusion. So I'm coming to the production. We are in production floor. We need to manufacture. And what all required for this? Okay.
Raw materials.
Raw materials.
Equipment.
That was really.
Employees required, correct?
Equipment.
Okay, let me make a note of it then. Probably, since you have multiple opinions, let me try to put it across in, yeah, we can write here itself. You can see the screen, correct? So you said that you need raw materials for car manufacturing. Agree, I'm with you. What else? Employees is required. Okay, what else? Keep responding. Human resources, correct. Capital, Venkatesh, correct. Capital is correct, but capital is a more wider term. Capital have multiple, let's go a little more specific into it. Yeah, budgeting is a basic exercise to start. But what all required in the let's think like a layman. Okay, we are in production floor of BMW, and what all required to manufacture BMW? Look from that angle. Okay,
Planning.
Yes, please.
Steel, iron.
Correct. So electricity, somebody said electricity. Steel is nothing but part of, I can include under raw materials, Ashwini. It is nothing but part of my raw materials, correct? Materials. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
What else? What else required? What else required? Direct labor, which is nothing but employees. I can quote it as labor. What else? What else required? Machinery, correct? Assume that you are in production floor of BMW and start thinking. Machinery is required, correct? What else? Planning is an exercise, correct? Planning, everything is correct. Whatever you're saying is correct. But planning is I'm saying about, okay, production planning required. I'm already into production. I am in production floor, about to start production. From that perspective, tell me, materials required, labor required, electricity required, machinery required. Yeah, there is a warehouse. Very correct. Warehouse required. Then, what else? Think you are in production floor and start from the staff is nothing but direct, labor, we can say. What else? Tell me, all what you are saying is correct. Okay, there is nothing wrong in it. Canteen required for staff, yes, as an addition. That is employee welfare. Yeah, let me put it canteen also.
Maintenance department.
Correct. Maintenance may be required. Correct. Then, what else? Quality, yes. Quality controls required. Can I write insurance? Testing, insurance. Insurance. Everyone agree with me? All of you have same opinion. These are the high level. I'm not getting into the office part of it. I'm at production floor. What is the expenses? I'm specific to production. Everyone with me? Everyone with me? Yes. Okay. Now look at from here. This is very important. So we are in BMW factory. First thing what we require is material. Okay. When we say materials, it may be steel, it may be composite materials, it may be fiber, it may be something relating to car manufacturing, anything is required. So nothing but materials. Second is labor, people to do that work. Okay, labor is required. That is the second thing. Now let's take only these two things first, then we'll come to the other part. Okay. Now, when I say about labor, the materials itself, I would say materials which can directly, I would say in BMW factory, in car, whatever going to, okay, which is, it may be a steel, it may be a, whatever that driving that part, or whatever it may be, which is directly falling into that car. I can call it as direct materials. What is that called? You can respond. It is called as direct material, which is directly going to my production. Everyone, I hope you are understanding. It is called as direct material, which is going directly into my production. Now, why I am saying direct material, then you need to ask, then what is indirect material, sir? So if you look at indirect material is nothing but, let's say in that factory itself, okay? Let's say I have so much of clothes for cleaning I purchased. It is also material, I'm just giving an example. Clothes for cleaning purchased. It is not specific to my BMW specific car. Let's say BMW for discussion purpose. Let us take BMW Series 1. Okay. It is not specific to Series 1. If I purchase steel specific to Series 1, it called as direct material. Suppose if I am taking, let's say, the common materials or the clothes for cleaning of entire BMW cars, that is not specific to it. It is randomly purchased, or the gloves for people to use it, or whatever the utensils kind of, so those kind of utility things what I use it, though it is in material in nature, though it is relating to production, it is not like directly going into my car, into that production or the produced BMW. So when it is going like that, we call it as direct material. Everyone with me? Are you getting the point?
Yes, sir.
Keep responding. Okay. Now, what happens is you also need to understand how the treatment, as a cost accountant, we should be knowing how we are going to treat that. In costing book, how it is going to treat also, it is very important. I am discussing about direct material, which is directly visible in BMW. Now, what happens is there will be a purchase department. Okay, there will be a purchase department. In this purchase department, what they do is they purchase steel for the entire production. It may be BMW Series 1, Series 2, Series 10, whatever it may be. In that purchase department, they give order for the entire production, and the entire steel comes and lies in my godown or stores department. Now, when the stores department creating or requiring a requisition may come to stores department, okay, for Series 1 of BMW, I need on 16th of March 2023, I need 1000 kg of steel. So it will be very specific, 1000 kg of steel for BMW Series 1. Okay. Now, if you notice here, it is very specific. And what happens is, conventionally, it used to make it in triplicate. Now it is everything ERP driven. What they do is they used to make it in triplicate copy. When the requisition coming from Series 1 production, production floor, they make it in 3 copies. I need 1000 kgs. 1 copy will go to my stores department. Stores department will see, okay, 1000 kg of steel is required for Series 1. They will be issuing this to production floor, Series 1, so that they can manufacture. 1 copy they will retain with them. It will be retained with them. Okay, I have used on 16th of March 1000 kg of steel for BMW. And the 3rd copy will go to cost accounting department. Why it is going to cost accounting department? Because cost accountant has to record it. If you remember the definition of costing, we say recording. So 1000 kg of steel for BMW, there will be a record will be happening in cost ledger. Are you able to follow, guys? I'm saying about direct material. And now you look at the term, why it is called as direct. One reason, it is directly visible on the product. Second is, this can be easily identified. Okay, if a cost accountant looks on a particular day and says that on 16th of March, 1000 kg of steel has gone to my production of BMW Series 1. You're able to follow? It is directly attributable to BMW Series 1 production. So we call it as direct materials. Guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts? Post me. Otherwise, I assume you are clear with it. Now we discussed about indirect materials like the gloves or the cleaning cleaning clothes or anything which is not directly to BMW. I may be having random and people who are coming take the cloth and clean it. It will not go directly into my BMW or nor accounted against BMW Series 1. You are getting, so you visualize the production floor. So much of gloves is there. The floorman will come and take it. Okay, I am taking it for BMW 1. They will not do it. It is for as a whole for the project. So we call it as indirect materials. I'll come to that separately, but I am trying to differentiate the difference between direct and indirect material. It is relating to production. Please note whether it is direct material or indirect material, what we are discussing about relating to our production. This is the first point. Kindly be on mute. Okay. Now the next one, labor. Now if we look at, there will be employees who will be directly working for production of BMW series. In the sense, when we are discussing about BMW production, there may be a set of people are saying, okay, you will be working only on BMW series 1. The other bunch will be, I will be completely working on BMW series 10. You know, like that, individual people will be on individual product specific. So what you could do is specifically identify those individuals who are working for specific projects. So we call them as direct labor. I'll come to indirect labor also. I repeat, the people who are working specific on a specific project, BMW series 1. So how it happens, the recording, how it happens, there will be a supervisor, a foreman in the factory. What he does is, he is not working for all the projects. He will be doing, okay, 10 people will be on series 1, 10 people will be on series 2, 10 people will be on series 10. Like that, he will be making differentiation. Now, what he does is, he give a copy of that report to HR department. They will be making a report. Okay, these many employees are on BMW series 1 or series 2. Like that, they will be making. Second copy, he will go send it to cost accountant. Okay, cost accountant, what we'll do on 16th March to so and so, let's say 23rd March, 10 employees are working under BMW series 1. They make a record of it. Why we are doing all these exercise? Because we need to identify the cost specifically attributable to BMW series 1. I hope you are with me, guys. You are able to visualize the situation. Please post me and ask me question if you are unclear on any point. Now, there may be another category, as I mentioned, the supervisor, not Superman, supervisor. Okay. So supervisor, what he does, he creates, he doesn't work specific to project. He is a supervisor. You know, he sends for people to project 1 or series 1, series 2, series 10, like that. He will be sending into multiple projects. His is not specifically attributable to series 1. However, his work is relating to production. So we call it as indirect labor. So direct labor, we will be directly recorded against series 1, and we will be able to catch it like this. At any given point of time, you ask, what is it? We will be able to track it. Are you able to follow, guys?
Yes, sir.
Everyone, please respond. I hope you're with me. Keep responding. Yeah. And any doubts, post me and ask me. Okay. So that I can clarify and go. So we discussed about direct material and direct labor specific to project. And if you notice, any point of time, chairman is asking, okay, on BMW series 1, what is the labor? What is the material? In a flash of a moment, the cost accountant can give the data. You understood? That is the key factor. Now, direct material, direct labor is clear. Now, BMW, after the production, everything is over, there may be some test run. You cannot just go and send it, okay, done, go. You cannot do that. There will be some testing that has to be done. So what do? How much of test? What is the effort going into it? We will be doing that. So that testing, we call it as something called as direct expenses. You're getting what I'm saying? It is again specific to projects. We realize that this test is convened specific to project. Specific to project. It is called as direct expenses. Are you clear, guys? So 3 points we discussed: direct material, direct labor, and direct expense. Now in a factory floor, there may be whole lot of expenditure: electricity, machinery, warehouse, canteen, maintenance, quality, insurance, rent, indirect material, indirect labor. The whole lot of expenditure will be there. Any expenditure in the factory floor. Remember, I am discussing only about factory. I am not discussing about administration. I am discussing only about factory, where the production happen. Any expenditure other than direct material, other than direct labor, other than direct expenses, whatever expenses we incur, we call it as overheads. Are you able to follow? We call it as overheads. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Everyone? Any expenditure other than direct material, direct labor, direct expense, which is incurred in the factory in production floor as a whole, we call it as overheads. Good. Now, so direct material treatment, you are clear. Direct labor treatment, you are clear. Direct expense, you are clear. Triplicate, cost accountant makes an entry immediately. Okay. The problem is resolved. Similarly, direct expense also similar way. So you ask anytime, immediately can be obtained. Now, what you need to visualize here again, there will be kind of the factory floor, if you look at, there will be whole lot of expenditure. As I mentioned, electricity, maintenance. You should visualize a situation where 10,000 plus people working, acres of land, multiple production series, whole lot of expenditure may be incurring there. Are you able to visualize? It can be anything. You know, you distribute a Diwali sweets to the employees in the production floor. If it is relating to improve the, you know, the morale of the employees, that will be treated as an overhead. Manufacturing overhead, it will be treated as a manufacturing overhead. So whatever other expenditure, we can visualize the quantum of expenditure is huge. Any kind of expenditure, rent, electricity, water charges, maintenance, gloves, you know, this one, some small tools, depreciation of machineries, name anything, whole lot of expenditure is existing. Now my question back to you, direct material, direct labor, direct expense. In a flash of a moment, you will be able to trace it. All you need to do is just ask the cost accountant, how much is the total for this period to this period? You have calculated. Is it possible to trace that same way in case of overhead? That is a question. What do you think? Is it easily we can identify, visualize a situation, 10,000 people, what lot of expenditure, any expenditure other than direct material, direct labor, direct. Is it possible to kind of trace that? What do you think?
Sir, I didn't get the question, sir.
Okay, I'll repeat. Direct material, direct labor, direct expense, you can trace the value at any given point of time. That is clear, because you cost accountant will be directly maintaining a record. Everyone with me?
Yes, sir.
Now, on the other side, when we are discussing about overhead, overhead is the whole lot of manufacturing expenditure incurs in the factory. Do you think it is easily I can identify, okay, on 16th of March, how much of overhead I incur? Will I be able to trace it out? What do you think? Yes, no, everyone?
Comparatively, it is complicated, I guess, sir.
Not comparatively, realistically, it is complicated. Think of 10,000 people working, 10 acres of land. What all expenditure will incur? Am I correct? Correct, na, Shravani?
Yeah, sir.
So it is practically, it is difficult to identify expenditure at a given point of time. Okay, I'm not getting response, guys. So how we do it? Suppose if I wanted to identify on 31st March, how much I incurred the expenditure, how I can trace it? What is the possibility? How I can trace it?
By dividing the different parts, like different departments.
Okay, one option. What is the other option? What do you think? How I can identify the overheads? Is there a way? Because at a given point of time, it is not easy.
Through the balance sheet.
Correct, but how I practically see? the whole load of expenditure incurring in the factory, how will I trace it? Everyone has to participate. Please respond. Think. Then only you will be. See, otherwise I will keep saying you will listen, you will forget. Try to apply your mind and see what is the possibility. Think. I hope the question is clear. Material you ask on 16th March, I can get you. How much is the cost? Labor, I can get it. Direct expense, I can get it. Overhead, because of the volume, I am not able to do it. What is the solution? Please think and say.
Dividing factory overhead, selling, distribute.
Divide.
Divide the overheads. So like we have different types of overheads. First we'll divide into it, and later on we can calculate easily.
See, the problem is that, let's say I'm saying about, I'm purchasing some, let's say, some utility clothes. Okay. Now, it is not specific to project. So how much is incurred, to trace that itself, it will take time. So it is not recorded instantaneously. You understood, no? That is where the problem. Or I am incurring some maintenance. Maintenance is relatively easier. Or let's say take a simple example. I am distributing some special support pack. Let's say some kind of, let's say this, you see the helmet, no? So that is being distributed to all the employees. So the order given, the material, the cap comes, then it is being distributed, how much of cost incurred, everything, it will take time to analyze, correct? Because we are discussing about 10,000 plus employees. So how we do that? What is the way? Not getting response. Please participate in the discussion, guys. Anand, Ananta Padmanabha, Ashwini, Atul, Bhumika, Chaitra, Dharmendra, Dheeraj, Jennifer, Jobin, Medini, Mohanapriya, Nandini. Hope the question is clear. So what will I do? I need to trace out. There should be some mechanism, right? Think. What's the way? Is there a way I can identify? Okay. What we do is, we identify some method called allocation or absorption. Okay, listen here, very important. Allocation or absorption, we could say that allocating the overheads, I'll explain about what it is, how it is done. Now, in factory, there will be an exercise. Even before the production happens, there is something called budgeting exercise. Something called as budgeting exercise. This is very important, very simple. Listen carefully. What is budgeting exercise? Budgeting is nothing but, even before your production activity starts, you identify for each of the category, okay, how much should be my material cost, how much should be my labor, how much should be my overhead. Like that, even before the production starts, I start identifying the categories, material, labor, overhead. Like that, I start identifying the categories. So similarly, when it comes to actual floor, direct material, direct labor, direct expense, I could identify what is actual. Overheads, we are not able to identify instantaneously. So what we do is, we depend upon our budgets. So probably in case of budgeting, what would I have done is, manufacturing overhead. You will say that, let's say 1 lakh units at the rate of 100. It is 10 lakhs. This is something called as budgeting. Everyone with me? Hope you are with me. Listen carefully, okay? Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. So budgeting at the beginning, even before the production start, we would have derived some number as, let's say 1 lakh into 100. 10 lakh is my budgeted overheads. Okay, I'm mentioning about budgeted overhead. Now what we do is, we depend these numbers. Okay. And at this point of time, what we find out, what is the overhead to be absorbed? We will realize that instead of 1 lakh production, probably production would have become 1,10,000. I will continue with the rate at the rate of 100 itself. So my overhead at this given point of time, I will consider as 11 lakhs. This is called as absorbed overhead. Please understand, this is not the final numbers. But during that interim period, on 31st March, if I need to close account, I do not have the actual picture. I will not be able to trace also. So what we do is, we identify some interim number called as absorbed, which is in this case, it is 1,10,000 into 100, 11 lakhs. Everyone with me? Are you able to follow? At the beginning of the period, there was some budgeted number. Taking Q from that, it was 100 was the predetermined. The rate is called as predetermined rate. And that predetermined rate, we will apply with the actual activity. 1,10,000 is the actual activity. We apply with that actual activity to derive at something called as our absorbed overhead. Now, what happens is, this is only an interim period. Okay, this is not the final numbers. At the end of the period, probably at the end of financial year, let's say 31st December, what we will do is, at that moment, we will identify something called as actual. What is my actual overhead? I will identify. Now, assume for a moment, my actual overhead was, let's say, 12 lakhs. What we will do is, the difference between actual and absorbed. So if you look at actual is 12 lakhs, absorbed is 11 lakhs. So my absorption is less, under. So we call it as, it is under absorption. Imagine that actual is less. Let's say instead of 11 lakhs, it has become only 9 lakhs. So what we say, my absorption is, absorbed is more, actual is less. So absorption is over absorbed. What I'm trying to say is that in this exercise, whatever gets absorbed, we will make it matching with actuals. At the end of the period, if it is 9 lakhs, whatever entry passed for absorbed, we will be passing under absorption or over absorption to the extent so that it will be matched with my actuals. I'll repeat again, don't worry. If you didn't absorb, I'll make it explain again. All right. Are you getting a first level understanding, everyone? It's not complex. It's not complex. Please listen carefully and respond. Okay. Listen again. I repeat, when it comes to direct material, direct labor, direct expense, at a given point of time, we will be able to easily identify how much is my direct material, how much is my direct labor, how much is our direct expense. We will be able to trace out. Whereas when it comes to overheads, we will not be able to do that. What is the reason? When we look at overheads, we realize that in case of overhead, the volume is so large, at a given point of time, it is not practically possible to identify. So what we depend, we go back to budget. And budget, what we see, okay, 1 lakh at the rate of 100, 10 lakhs was my budget. We consider in between today. So budget was fast. Today, what we do? My budget is 1 lakh into 100, whereas my absorbed is 1 lakh into 100. Actual quantity is, let's say, 1,10,000 at this moment of quantity. I will apply the predetermined rate, 1,10,000 into 100. So I get something called 11 lakhs, which is my absorbed quantity. Now I look back and see what is my, at the end of the period, what is my actual? Actual is probably 9 lakhs. So which means that absorbed is over, actual is less. So it is over absorbed. I need to see the difference. Sometimes absorbed may be less. Actual is more. So actual is, let's say, 12 lakh. Absorbed is 11. So it is under absorbed. I need to match. So we will pass a corresponding entry to match in line with actuals. Everyone clear on this? Any questions up to now? Please raise hands so that I can repeat. Any questions? I assume, otherwise you are expert in absorption. Okay, good. No questions. If questions, please raise hands. I can repeat. Otherwise, I'm going to the next topic. Okay. Now listen. Now, if I look at what was the absorption basis I considered here, if you look at, it is 1 lakh is nothing but actual output was the basis. Actual output was the basis for my absorption. Now, sometimes what happened, actual output I considered. Sometimes it may be based on machine hours. I'll see how much is my machine hours. Budgeting would have been done based on machine. Let's give an example. Let's say, give me a second. I will say that machine hours, but machine hours budgeted was, let's say, same again, 50,000 at the rate of 10. This was budgeted. So absorption, when we do it, what we do, instead of 50,000 machine hours, we will take actual maybe 60,000 into 100. That will become our absorb. Some cases, instead of machine hours, it can be direct labor hours. Direct labor hours, they will say that 50,000 is a budget and overhead is based on machine hours, labor hours, or output. They can say different things. So generally, this is called as a conventional absorption costing method, the traditional costing system, we can say, wherein the overhead allocation or absorption is done based on direct material, I mean, the output, actual output, or based on direct labor hours, or based on machine hours, or these are the key parameters considered for identifying the absorbed overhead. Are you with me, everyone, up to now? This is important. If you understand, then the next part is very easy. Any questions up to now? Please raise hands or ask, unmute and ask. I'm taking time because this is the bridge we are going to the next one. Okay. Now, I will ask a question back. Now, the overheads, when we discuss, we find a whole lot of overheads, different types of overheads. We find overheads like electricity, machinery, canteen, sweets, insurance, indirect, material, everything was there. Different kind of expenditure we find out. But when it comes to absorption, we take a thumb rule that, okay, it has to be with direct labor alone, or it has to be based on material alone, or it has to be based on overhead alone. You are understanding what I'm trying to say. So there we kind of created a benchmarking that, okay, it should be based on so and so. It should be based on only on direct labor, or only on machine hours, or only on the output. So if you look at, there is a rational difference in the sense, if you look at here, what happens is my expenditure covers a whole lot of expenditure. However, I'm considering this only machine hours, or only direct labor hours, or actual output, or material. That is the only basis I considered to identify the absorbed overhead. For example, if I say cleaning exercise in factory, which has nothing to do with my materials or labor hours. If I'm saying about the machine cost, which I am incurring, it is machine hours is rational. Machine hours considering is okay. If I am incurring about the indirect labor, okay, labor hours is relevant. But otherwise, whatever expenditure incurring, maintenance or quality checking, I'm checking quality checking, comparing with the actual output, there is no rational. I'm just doing an outright basis of absorption. You're getting what I'm trying to say, guys? You agree? That is one defect in traditional cost accounting system when it comes to absorption. Do you understand that point, everyone? Please respond. Not getting a response from everyone. Please respond. These are very, very important concepts. Only when if you give response, I will get the energy, right? Otherwise, I assume that, okay, I am speaking, people are at different places. That's the way I look at it, right? Still 10 people, 11 people have not responded. I don't know. And one thing, please, I'm seeing people taking leave. Sorry, you cannot take leave. If you want to take leave, please send a message to me that you are on leave for some emergency basis. Otherwise, it is painful. Today, if you are not attending, I mean, you can watch the recording, but that doesn't serve the purpose, right? How much of effort required to kind of convince you this kind of sessions? So your attendance is almost important, and you cannot come and move at, I'm saying somebody join after half an hour leaving. Sorry, this cannot be done. I cannot permit that. You have to be here by 7. If the 7 is the class, you have to be here at 7. I'll start at 7:05. Buffer will give. And if there is any reason, any contingency, I could not take it, advance intimation will be given. 99%, I will, from my side, I will not stop the class. Sometimes if students saying that they have the exam tomorrow, majority students says there may be a situation of class postponing. Otherwise, the class will continue. So you have to be on time. You have to attend full. You have to watch the recording if you want to get the best output. You should not miss a session, guys. I'm saying after 45 hours, let's go. That's not the way. You should attend. You have invested on a professional program, right? Very important. Last day, one of my student, Safal, he is in Saudi. He messaged me. He's saying that, sir, I need 2-3 cost accountants, cost of management accountant for Saudi Arabia. Sahal is one of the students, I'm saying I get continuous basis. I'm Middle East, say so much of my alumni is there, any opportunity comes across, first they reach out to me. Why I'm saying is that if you are qualified CMAs, your life will be in a different platform, guys. I've seen people with nothing, with zero, nothing, they get into millionaires. I'm not exaggerating. Millionaires, because the kind of salary they get abroad is enormous. So I sent some of my alumni students again, but this requires so much of commitment from your side. You need to be very, very focused. You need to attend. You should not miss it. You should not take it lightly. And no way you should miss a class. All right. Sorry, in between there was a break. Let me come back to the topic. So what I was asking the question is, rational is, we are clear about the traditional accounting absorption method. We are very clear, which you understood. Now the point is, with this traditional absorption method, if we look at, that has shortfalls. The allocation of overhead or absorption of overhead is not the right way, because you incur a whole lot of activities in factory, but you are taking only direct labor hours as a basis for allocation, or only machine hours, which do not give a realistic picture. To avoid this shortfall, we come to the new method of costing called as activity-based costing. Whatever I was explaining for last 50 minutes is to give you a base as to why ABC is relevant. Because there was a shortfall or there was a deficiency in allocation of overhead under traditional costing, people started thinking, and they started thinking and identified the solution that ABC costing will be a solution. Activity-based costing. Activity-based costing, as the name indicates. Activity-based costing. What does this mean? Activity-based. So it is very clear. Here we are not going outrightly with machine hours. Here we are not going outrightly with direct labor hours. Here we are not going with overall output. Here we will identify what is my activity. Is it machine hours? If it is machining, machine related activity, then I may consider machine hours. If it is relating to production, what is connected to that? I will consider. If it is relating to indirect labor, probably the labor hours. If it is something relating to quality check, maybe the quality checking hours will consider. So we will consider First point is we will identify what is my activity here. The basis is what is my activity. That is a starting point. Under overheads, we will identify whether it is a cleaning, whether it is a machining, whether it is an indirect material, whether it is an indirect labor, whether it is a supervisory activity, whether it is a machining activity. We will start identifying something called the activity, which is a starting point. Once we identify this activity, let's say if we say machining is the activity. Then we identify what is the driver. If I have to identify machining is a process. What is the machine hours? The driver is nothing but the machine hours relating to that. If I am saying, let's say quality check is an activity. To this activity, what is the relatable thing? When you are saying about quality check under traditional costing, probably we would have taken the entire machine hours as a basis. Here under quality check, probably we will have quality checking hours. Now, there may be an activity receiving of materials to production floor. That's an activity. Earlier, we would have taken direct labor hours as a whole as a basis. Here, we will be taking as probably against receiving, okay, number of time it's received, or the number of hours spent for receiving, or the number of packages we receive. There may be a basis will be given. So the activity is the first thing, the task. Receiving is the act. Now we will identify something called the cost driver for that. What is that? If it is receiving activity, number of times the material received, that is the driver for it. Once we identify that, then specifically we will be able to trace out what is the overhead to be allocated specific to each category of projects. You're getting what I'm trying to say? Are you able to differentiate between traditional costing and absorption costing? I'm yet to come to absorption costing in detail. I'll explain with an example that will be much clearer. But are you able to get a high level sense of difference? Guys, please respond. Okay. Now take this example. This is one example for ABC costing. If you look at what is this receiving cost according to you? It is an overhead. Everyone agree? It is not direct material. It is not direct expenses, but it is receiving some material being received in factory. It is a cost associated with it. Everyone agree? Are you in agreement, guys? Okay. So this is receiving is an activity. Now, against this receiving, what is my cost driver? If you look at units produced and sold, it's overall. But there is something called receiving orders per product line. Receiving orders per product line. So I have two products, product A, product B. The number of receiving orders received for product A is available. Number of orders received for product B is available. Everyone in agreement with me? So you identify what is my activity. You also identify what is driving that. It is nothing but the receiving orders. Are you in agreement, guys? Everyone? Now, if we look at that, we realize that the overall overhead, the receiving cost is an overhead in agreement. The overall overhead is something called $10 lakhs, which is the overall overhead. Against that, product A and B, under product A 50 times received, under product B for 150 times received. Overall cost is 10 lakhs. You should be able to visualize, okay? Visualize that. Under product A, 50 times orders came, you are taking like that 50 times. Product B, 150 times. Overall cost incurred is 10 lakhs. Now we need to identify how much is applicable for product A, this receiving cost, and for product B, and also per unit produced and sold, how much it is. You understood the question, everyone? I should identify against product A, how much receiving cost incurred, against product B, how much receiving cost incurred, and under that itself, per unit, how much. Everyone in agreement? You understood the question? Visualize the situation, okay? 50 times order has been given to A, 150 times to B. Overall cost is 10 lakhs. Now we need to identify under product A per unit how much. How we do that? What is your thoughts? How we can do it? Any thoughts before I do myself? How we do that? Share your thoughts. Let it be wrong. Doesn't matter. How we do that? You can unmute and say, please. Be active, be representative. Doesn't matter whether it goes wrong. How we do it? Rare bolna. It's not too complicated, right?
10 lakh into product A 50 divided by 50,000.
Think again. Almost correct. Think again. Overall cost is how much? 10 lakhs.
10.
Okay. How many times we received altogether, everyone?
50.
Overall, how many times we received product A and B together?
200.
Everyone in agreement? Please respond in chat also. Okay, you can either unmute and say or chat so that you will be active. So I can say that 200 time I received and it incurred 10 lakhs cost. Am I correct? Am I correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
So now I can say 200 time I incurred, cost is 10 lakhs. If so, for product A, how much cost and product B, how much? Is it possible? What I should do? Is it so complicated? Tell me how to do it.
We got 10 lakh. And for 50, how much?
Correct. 10 lakhs is for how much? 200. So for 50, how much?
Sir, for A, 2,50,000. For B, 7,50,000.
So how we do it? So A equals 10 lakhs is the total and the overall is 200. So I'll divide it with 200 and multiply with
50.
Multiply with 50.
2,50,000.
So how much I get? $2,50,000. Everyone agree with me? We are just proportionating. Think rationally. It's very simple, right? Now for B, what happens?
10 lakhs divided by 200 into 1.
Into
7,50,000.
7 lakh. Everyone in agreement? Any doubts on this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we derive 2,50,000. 2,50,000 is for how many units of product A?
50.
So per unit is how much?
5.
Similarly, 7,50,000 is for how much?
30.
25,000, right? So it become
30.
Everyone, check again, go through it, whether you are able to understand. Any questions? Anybody? Think on it. Any questions? Please respond. Otherwise, I assume it is clear. The way you need to look at is the overall receiving is 200 times we received. Cost incurred is 10 lakhs. So each time, how much it cost incur, that you identify product A and for product B. And then divide that with number of units. So per unit, you will be getting. Is it clear? Anand, Ananda, Ashwini, Atul, Bhumika, Chitra, please respond. Dharmendra, Dheeraj, is it clear? Jagadish, Jennifer, Jobin, Methini, Mohana, Dantini, Pavitra, Rima, Rupa, Sahana, Sanket, Shabas, Shaman, Sindura, Saundarya, Srihita, Stevin, Swati, Tejaswini, Usha, Varshini, Venkatesh, is it clear? Please respond. So this is what activity-based costing. This covers activity-based costing. So I'll summarize what we discussed today so far, and then we'll do a lot of practice questions. Okay. So we started with the explanation that under conventional costing, we taken the example of BMW case, direct material, direct labor, direct expense can be directly attributed. Any point of time you ask, you will be able to get it immediately. Whereas when it comes to overheads, you cannot trace it because it is so voluminous. You cannot trace immediately. So what we do is we use some methods like absorption, allocation, wherein, we will be considering this budgeted rates, something called budgeted rate we'll identify. In this case, it was 100, and then apply that with actual level of activity. So you get something called absorbed, and later on it is matched with actual with over under absorption or under absorption that is being done. So that is traditional absorption costing, wherein the overheads being allocated. The shortfall in that is you will not be able to there is no rational. You are incurring some, let's say, cleaning activity. You are matching with machine hours as a whole. That doesn't give it gives a overall picture, but it is not a realistic picture. So that is where the concept of ABC started coming up, wherein we start identifying activities, whether it is cleaning, whether it is supervising, whether it is receiving, whether it is ordering, whether it is, different activity. And then we identify what is the driver for that activity. So then we take one example. Okay, receiving the order is the activity. What is the driver behind that? Receiving orders per product line. Each orders per product line. Number of orders per product line is the driver behind that. So when we identify that, based on that, we identify what is the overhead, 10 lakhs, how we assign to product A and product B. We started defining that, identifying that. Proportionate basis, overall is 200. 50 divided by 200 will give for A, 150 divided by 200 for B, and then based on that, we close it. Clear on this, everyone? Any questions so far? So much of theory was there. I hope what I request you is, you need to go through today's session recording. Tomorrow we'll be doing so much of practical questions. Probably 1 or 2 days we'll do ABC costing to have that concept very clear. This is a first level explanation I given. There will be much advanced questions also, but we will gradually progress into the advanced questions. But my request is, whatever we discussed today, please go through it so that tomorrow it will be much easier. If you come blank, it will be difficult. Got it, everyone? Now we started with life cycle. Today we are absorption. See, I have an intimation got from our department that so much of your, batchmates are planning to join, verge of joining, etc. See, if somebody is planning to join from academic point of view, please don't delay, because if they come back after 2 weeks and all, they're half lost. So I request, if any of your friends in the verge of joining, request them to not to miss any session, because these sessions, if you notice, so much of energy required and so much of explanation required to bring into ABC costing. So they have to watch the recording, everything. So you can take care of it. I hope this was informative. We have touched the first level of ABC, wherein why ABC is required only I have explained and given a practical aspect. One practical question. Please go through the recording. And later on, we will be doing more of practical questions. All right. So if no further questions, I assume the session was useful. We'll resume tomorrow. Until then, please take care. Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.